Hello everyone, here we are with Dr. Josephine Okurame. Dr. Josephine, also known as Dr. Joe, is a perfect example of what this subject is about, the lean business startup. Dr. Joe has used this methodology to launch, build, and sustain, at the moment, I believe, 3 different businesses in very different sectors. And we're here with her because she's just the perfect example of what it is that we want you to learn from and about in this subject. So, Dr. Joe, if you don't mind, give us a rundown, give us a bit of a story behind how you arrived at this point.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. So my journey is a bit different. I would say a bit different from the typical entrepreneur's journey.
Right.
When I got into Australia, I actually came in here on a conditional offer.
Right.
Do you know what a conditional offer is?
No, explain.
Okay, so what it is, and a lot of people don't actually know that it's a thing. My grades were so low that they couldn't even give me a full offer. This was for me to be you call it a fee-paying student.
Right.
So I was paying fees, but they said you're too low for the standards of the university.
Right.
So we're going to give you a condition that if you make up to 70% in the first semester, we will take that condition off and you can continue.
So please, for those of us that we don't feel like we're the most academic person or we struggle with our grades or whatever else, here you go, right?
Exactly.
It is possible, and here's the proof.
Yep.
Sorry, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, so I felt a little bit insulted by that. I mean, it messed up my ego a little bit.
Yeah.
But I knew that my bachelor's, I was, your typical student, just having fun, living life, not really focusing, not attending classes. A lot of students can relate to that.
Yes.
And hoping that just to meet the right attendance mark. And then eventually I just put my head down, put away all distractions, and I said, you know what, I know that I can do this. And I put my head down and I studied, and I would stay in the library and I would sleep overnight. I'm not advising anyone to do that, but to show you the amount of dedication that I put in. And then that semester, I got an average of 86%, I believe.
Wow.
They lifted the condition and they gave me a scholarship.
Wow. See, so guys, hard work, effort pays off. I believe an 86 average is a high distinction average.
Yes.
But starting from below 70 average.
Below 60.
Below 60 average. Guys, it is possible, and here's the proof.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think you just have to have that mindset that you can do it. And then finally getting here and, focusing, getting my grades up, I needed to make income. And one thing you have to understand as a migrant is when you get here, a lot of your experiences don't necessarily matter. I knew people that were ministers of health back in Africa, for instance, but over here they had to take on cleaning jobs. And so for me, the turning point was when I applied for a role that I didn't particularly like, but everyone seemed to have been applying for that particular role. I wasn't necessarily passionate about it, but they seemed to be taking migrants in that role. I went for the interview, and when I sat there, the lady was so rude. The admin personnel was so rude. And she was like, if you don't have a car, you're not going to get this job, so you might as well start leaving now. And I didn't have a car. So I was sitting there and then I looked around me, and everyone there were migrants. And I thought, I don't even want this job, and she's rude. I have to figure something out for myself. And I went and I sat down and, to think about, what do I like doing? What am I good at? What do people naturally tell me? You should do this because you're so great at it. And I figured every time I have taken a plate to a potluck, everyone's always asking, who did that?
Wow.
That food runs out before everything else.
Wow.
Who made those meat pies? Who made that jollof? Oh my gosh, what is this? Can I get the recipe? And I was just handing it out. Yeah, sure. Oh, I did it. It was just like a very jovial thing until a friend of mine said to me, why don't you put a price on this? And I was like, okay. And someone said, if I got you, and my meat pies are one of our top selling items.
Right.
And they said, if I got you to do 100 pies, how much would it be? I was like, I have no idea. And she just jumped in and she said, yeah, they're $5 each, so that would be 500. I was like, that's a lot. And they were like, sold. When can we pick up? And that was when I figured out this could be a business. The next step is, how do we meet compliance and get it set up to be operational?
Wow.
Yeah.
So folks, a lot to unpack there. You're going to come across obstacles. We all do. It's what you make of those obstacles. And a good starting point is, what are you good at? What are you interested in, right? Everything could possibly be a business, right? Even things that you may not, have never considered. And sure enough, that way of thinking has led to where we are today. Yeah. Dr. Joe, the subject is lean business startup.
Okay.
You mentioned how you realized that, man, people really love your meat pies, and that could potentially be an entry into the sector. But obviously, you didn't have the resources, you didn't have all the so. What was your mindset as far as going about this in a lean sort of way?
I had to strip away everything that could potentially be a barrier. And I figured, how can I start this in the smallest way possible with minimal overheads? Because I didn't have a budget. I didn't have any investment team. I didn't have any investors that were interested in this big dream. I wanted to validate it in the smallest form.
That's right.
So what I started doing was, but also it has to be profitable.
That's right.
So I'm not a restaurant. I couldn't operate as a restaurant, making, if someone wants to order just one pack, that would put me at a loss because I don't know how many people we're going to order. So what I started doing was something called bulk ordering. So then I made sure that the minimum order quantity was 3 liters of whatever it is, like 3 liters of soup, 3 liters of rice, and I had that measurement and I put that in place. But then we would get like 1 order in 3 months.
Right.
And even then I was excited. I was like, someone wants this. And by the time we're done delivering, and we just wanted feedback. We wanted proof of concept. We wanted to make sure that we were actually good chefs. That I was a good chef because I was the one doing the cooking. And we wanted to have those kind of, reviews are everything. Social proof is everything these days. So even just posting on our social media, someone just sent this, your food is amazing, I want to order again. It then created, fear of missing out, FOMO. And then people are like, oh, I want to try that. But what we noticed is that model of taking the orders, the bulk orders, didn't give us as much frequency as what we wanted. And because people had to commit to a big quantity.
Right.
So we had to then figure out how to navigate out of that. But because I was starting off and I was doing this from home or renting out like cloud kitchens, dark kitchens, and using as much resource around us as possible, I thought, okay, I was also a university student. I was completing my PhD at the same time. So we're time poor, cautious of everything, money cautious, time cautious. And then I said, okay, so why don't I take orders for 2 weeks and then fulfill them on the weekends only? Because then I have to still attend the university, I have to be present there. So we would collect as many orders as we could during the week, during the 2 weeks, and then fulfill them on the weekend. So we're basically working 2 to 3 days, I would say 2 to 4 days a month, and doing that on a monthly basis. Yeah.
You actually have grown and you've taken what you've learned from doing that across to other sectors, right? You're also now, you're involved in consulting, using AI consulting, is that right? And also, in fact, training in basically hospitality and food-related business.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So how has that kind of thinking, what you just expressed, how has that shown up in these other sectors of your businesses?
So the transition went from bulk orders to what I call single orders.
Right.
Because we had to listen to the customers, right? Feedback is very important.
Yes.
And what we were hearing was that people didn't know Nigerian food specifically. So they wanted to try small quantities. But because I had already done the calculation and figured out I might be at a loss, it didn't seem very practical to go about it that way. So when I decided to do the single order quantity and ordering, we would put out a menu and put that out to as many people that wanted to try single orders as possible. So now, instead of cooking a minimum of 3 liters, we would have 20 people order 1 liters. 20 people order 1 liter tubs, and so we would be cooking 20 liters. So now we've validated our concept, we've listened to the customers, we've taken feedback practically, and now we're in business. So people are looking forward to these single orders. And then from the single orders, they have this regularity. It's almost like you're growing with your customer. So now they love your food. The next thing is, if I'm having a birthday, I'm gonna call you. If I'm having a celebration, I'm gonna call you. If I have a baby shower, whatever the case may be. So then that kind of made us not pivot because we were still satisfying the single orders and the bulk catering, but then now we started doing events, so weddings, corporate events, birthday celebrations, baby showers, and things like that. And after that, we then were able to hone that down to canopy setups. So canopy grazing table setups are the more luxurious type of, elegant setup, but the mini type bite-sized setup of our foods. And the thing is, people don't even think that this is possible, but because we've mastered the flavor, we've done the big events, and now we're like, we can actually make smaller versions of this and set it up. So you see the transition. It's almost like at every stage, we'd have to, each stage before the next informs that
The
stage.
next, very
Yes. So even with the canopy setup, again, a lean model was used to validate that. So everybody, you can say, oh, we do canopy setup. Just verbally, that's not sufficient. So for us to validate that, I had one of my clients that I had done a bulk catering service to, and I said, look, I have this new, and he had another event coming up. And I said, I have this new thing that I'm doing. It's called, grazing table canopy setup. He's like, I've never heard of that. Fair enough. And then I was like, so this is the budget if you want to do your catering. Let's say it was 7,000. And these catering events, you feed hundreds of people. Let's say $7,000 budget for your catering. The canopy setup is a bit more expensive because you're now taking in two business models of cooking and styling. Okay, so that 7,000 might turn into 9,000 or 10,000. So I said to him, I will do the canopy setup, which is worth 10,000 for you for 5,000 or 4,000 if you let me film and use that to do the proof of concept. Now everyone, and there was a mixture of people, different races, different cultures. They loved it because they could try little bits of pieces without committing to a full plate. Come back for what they like and don't touch the ones that they don't like. And it was the second we launched that was next level, another stream as well. And then once we had that rolling, the next stage was product development.
Right.
Yeah, so we've literally been able to pivot, but just starting small is what has enabled us to do these different things as well and grow. Yeah.
So a real world example of that build, measure, learn concept.
Yes.
Wow.
The learn is very key.
Yes.
Yeah. If you don't learn, you're going to stay in the same position. Your customer feedback is very important. Building a relationship with your customers is very important. I don't think there's anybody that has purchased from us that hasn't gotten a freebie.
Right.
We always give freebies. Of course, it's a very excellent marketing strategy.
Yes.
If you order jollof rice and fufu and egusi, for instance, and I put in a little freebie of goat stew, the next time you're going to come back and be like, what was that?
Yes.
So yes, I'd love my clients and they always get freebies of some sort, but it's an excellent marketing strategy.
Wow. No, and that also ties into the empathy aspect of the lean startup, is really trying to, in the way you're building the business, put yourself in your customers' shoes as possible, right?
Yes.
Wow.
I agree with that.
Wonderful. A big part of this whole lean business startup, as you've already expressed, is knowing your customer as well as possible, understanding them as well as possible, so that you're very clear on what the true value proposition is.
Yeah.
Right? You mentioned that actually you also have experience utilizing AI in the midst of all this. Can you speak to that? What are your thoughts on the role of AI relative to helping you really understand and cater to your customer?
Yeah. AI is something that I wish that I had 7 years ago when I started. And my passion now for coaching and training people on how to utilize AI in your business is that you no longer have to be a solopreneur. You can now have AI
as a
employees.
Partner. Wow.
Yes, you can have an AI marketing agent, you can have an AI board of directors.
Wow.
And just letting people see what is possible with AI is an area that I'm so passionate about. And that's because we are in an AI revolution. I think I keep telling people that it's better to adopt it now and get with the program. It's just like when the apps came out and people were like, what's this app thing? But now we can't do without them.
That's right.
Every bank, everything has an app. That's where AI is going.
Wow.
So if you don't jump on that now, you're going to be not left behind, but it's going to be a little bit harder to catch up because it's replicating so fast. Like people can't even keep up with the number of AI tools and the agentic AIs and things that it can do. There are AI tools that can set up automations and workflows to where someone fills up a form on your website, they get an automated email, you get information on that business profile, you send a personalized email. I mean, we've gotten all these emails that say stuff like, hi, we just checked the SEO on your website. We'd like to improve it. You don't respond to those. But if you get a message saying, "Hi, Deji,
Yes.
I can see that you're a lecturer and at Torrance University, and you've been doing amazing work with students. I've been admiring you from a distance, and I really want to get to know your business, and I feel like I can offer you." You see how personalized that is? AI can allow us to do that. AI is the only thing that can allow us to do that right now. Prior to that, we would have to sit down and write those emails ourselves. And this is just one use case. You can have AI invoice trackers. You can have AI employees. You can have AI admin personnel.
Wow.
You know, so my passion now is letting people that are just starting, you have that business idea, you're thinking, how am I even going to get this off the ground? Letting you know that you already have a team with AI.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now that I'm using it in my business, I'm like, oh, if I had this 7 years ago, I wouldn't be here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're lucky to be meeting you at this stage, so we can ride the wave with you.
Yes, I'm very excited.
But I mean, just to even further solidify what you're saying, this has played such a key role, and it is playing a key role that you actually now coach and consult in this area. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So business owners, right from the idea stage, where someone would say, "I have an idea. How do I make this a reality?" I start coaching and consulting. So I have a coaching program where we talk about these ideas and get them up and running, and test them, go through the entire phase. Basically, where I was 7 years ago, I'm guiding people through that entire process. So I have people that would come to me in the middle. They say, "I've launched my product, I've launched my business, but how do I get repeat clients? How do I get consistency in clients?" And again, I just mentioned us getting 1 client in 3 months. So I know that journey. So I'm not talking from theory. I'm a very practical trainer and practical coach, and a bit cutthroat too. So you have to be ready for results if you want to, come coach. So very passionate about that journey, and just seeing people believe in themselves again because they can see themselves in me and where I am now.
Yes.
And even I get coaching. So I don't think I think everyone needs some kind of coach or guide. It just saves you so much wastage. We talk about wastage when it comes to finances, but you also waste your time and your passion, because every time you fail, it takes something away from you. It makes you believe less in what you're working on, but perhaps it's not the product itself, but it's your approach.
Yes.
That's where a coach can align you on the best pathways to go to get you the best outcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's also where taking a lean approach can also help with things, because the mistakes that you do make, if you do make them, they're not as catastrophic, right? You've minimized costs, you've leveraged relationships, you've learned from mentors or coaches, and okay.
Yeah, because imagine you had a massive investor that's put in millions of dollars, and then you're trialing and making these errors. It would be so much more, like you said, catastrophic than trialing it out with a coach that can streamline the process for you and tell you, well, you need to get here, but I can tell you how to get there faster.
Yes.
Instead of you going around in a maze, I've worked this maze. I have physically walked this maze. I'm, bird's eye view telling you go left, go right, and you're going to get there faster, or you can go around in circles and figure it out yourself. So that's the visual when I think about coaching, what it does. Yeah.
You've touched on this, but it's such a significant part of the whole concept of the lean business startup. What are your thoughts around this concept of bootstrapping and like figuring out things like pre-sales to customers or reducing risk and things like that? Like, what else might you want to share on the role and your use of the whole bootstrapping concept?
Well, if you don't have a budget, you have to make it work.
That's right.
You don't have a choice. You have to make it work.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example, and I love telling stories because it makes people realize how these concepts can be applied in real life. So we run festivals, and we started doing festivals. That was another way for us to get the publicity, but also to make a significant amount of income in one day. So I have run festivals where I've made up to $30,000 just
in one day.
Yes. Wow. So you would see my team. Everything is planned. So in the beginning, you utilize what is available to you. You just make it work. You may not be able to go out and get like fixed term employees, but you have family members. But you're not treating them as just come whenever you can and come help me. You're giving them a schedule. I have a clock in time. I've had family members say, I don't work for you. I'm like, well, you do today.
You do now.
You're just gonna have to make this as professional as possible.
Yes.
So we've got clocking time, we've got lunchtime. So I've got like, staff meals. I've got drinks, water.
Separate from
What we're selling, because business is business. I don't play with my numbers. I do my pre-sale calculations, and I always over-project. So that way, if we go lower, I'm like, good. So we've covered our overheads. I can pay the people that are helping me out. Even volunteers can get wages. And then, contractors as well get paid, and I can still have revenue and profit after that. So before the festival, we always employ something I call a pre-sale, or it's like a special menu or a special discount. If you order now, then you get this special line at the festival, because we always have a crazy line at festivals.
I know this.
You've witnessed this. So instead of queuing in that line that may take you an hour to get to the front, you have this special queue just for knowing us. It's like insider information. But now you have to order beforehand and pay. Sometimes the overheads can be as high as $10,000.
Right.
Yes. So if you're doing $10,000 in overheads and in purchasing raw materials and things like that, you have to make at least 2-3 times that in a festival. So you see where the numbers come in and why it's serious business.
Yes.
So we do the pre-sales, we raise some money, and we use that to purchase the things that we need, the produce and all of that, the paying for the stall, the insurance, making sure everything is running, because we have food safety inspectors coming in. So I usually have someone I have a food scientist that usually comes at my stall, and she makes sure everything is running smoothly.
Wow.
So there's a lot of operations that people don't realize is happening. And I've had so many festivals where the festival organizers call back and they're like, you always are prepared. We've noticed that the food safety, because the supervisor comes around to check and make sure you've got your thermometer, you've got your food safety supervisor certificate, you've got all these things laid out, you've got your temperature monitoring, you've got your heat source, your cool source. So when they come, they're like, where is this? I'm like, here. They're like, tick, and this, yeah, tick, and this, yeah, tick. I'm like, oh, you forgot to ask about the sanitizer. They're like, oh, that's true. I'm like, I'm ready.
Yes.
So the entire phase of recruiting the people that are available to you. We say it takes a village to raise we say it takes a village to raise children, but it takes a village to start a business.
Yes.
And that's the whole bootstrapping concept of utilizing what you have now until you can actually pay for it full time.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Again, even related to that, you've touched on this already. It sounds as though even within that, this team that you're talking about, this approach makes it so that actually you don't have to take on full-time staff or whatever else. You're able to leverage contractual relationships. You mentioned volunteers and things like that, but also maintaining a high level of professionalism that even they can respect, right?
Yes.
Because just because I'm a volunteer or contractor, it doesn't mean that I don't expect to maybe have my own separate meals and break time and things like that.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
And they can feel the consideration that you've put in when you say you're checking in on them. You're like, how are you feeling? Do you need to sit down?
Right.
Can you go grab something to eat? Can you just get water? Where's the drinks for the volunteers? You just have to be a human.
Yes.
That's where empathy comes in.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people that use volunteers and don't give them anything, not even transport. That can't be me. Like if you're giving me your time, I would value that enough for you to be happy enough for you to come back the next time I say, come and help me. Yeah.
No, beautiful. So, Dr. Joe, in the midst of all this, and you mentioned it yourself that in the early days, you probably had some missteps that you learned from. Speak to that. What sort of iterations and pivots, have you had to go through? And what are your thoughts on that? What's your advice to the students watching this around how should they think about making pivots or adjustments in their journey?
I think, and this is just a reality check, whatever idea you think you have now is going to change.
Right.
So as great as you think it is definitely going to be altered. It's going to move. It's going to switch. We've seen that with companies that refuse to accept change and they're, extinct. Look at Nokia.
Yes.
Look at BlackBerry.
Yes. I miss those companies.
Exactly. And they were the top of the game.
That's right.
Once upon a time.
That's right.
But if you're just like, this is what I'm passionate about, I'm going to stick with it, you're not listening to the customers. So for us, it was like, we had done one festival and it was successful, and I thought, let's do all the festivals. And I didn't realize that there was a place for research. How many people come to that festival in the previous years? What's the foot traffic like? What's the location like? Do they have parking? Is it a ticketed festival? Because if someone's paying $50 to come in, your prices need to adjust to the fact that they've paid an entry fee. So if you're charging significantly high for a ticketed, they were walking around looking for finger food. You're not going to price something $35, $40. They're like, I already paid $50 at the gate. So just things like that. And I remember one time I was so excited, I didn't factor in some of these considerations. And I went to a festival, and I remember cooking so much more than was needed. The waste, the loss in income. And that's why when I say like coaching, for instance, if I had a coach, these are the things they'll tell me to consider, right? These are the things they'll tell me to consider before, taking on a festival. But I had to lose money, lose and waste resources, and just be overall defeated. I remember calling my team together, and I couldn't pay them. They were volunteering, but I couldn't even say thank you in any way. So what I ended up doing was cooking for everyone later on and saying, take this home, and at least your meal is sorted for the next 1 week. But these are painful mistakes that I don't think I can make at this point, because experience has brought me to a point where I'm more calculative about what I'm doing.
So yeah, even be ready, it sounds like, even with the best efforts and best intentions, be ready to change, be ready to adjust based on what the situation or the market is actually asking for. Be
ready to modify that idea. As great as it is, be ready to modify. The times are changing. If you're sticking with a particular idea and it's not AI friendly, or it can't grow exponentially, then you're just going to stay in that same spot. And that's where having a board of directors or having someone that has been there and can navigate and guide you through it is very beneficial and essential as well. So yeah, I agree.
Well, part of what I appreciate so much about you is actually, you don't gatekeep. You're here because you're actually already at that point where, with what's been poured into you, you're looking to pour back into
people.
others.
Yeah.
And so, speak to that. Like, what motivates you to want to do that? What's your thinking and approach to actually giving back around this whole lean, everything you've talked about today?
I think the biggest limitation in expertise or success is lack of awareness. People gatekeep a lot. I came in as a migrant. I'm an Australian citizen now, and I have gone through the navigation of being a migrant to a citizen. And when I got my citizenship, which was 10 years after getting here, so it wasn't immediate at all, people were like, how did you have your business set up and you weren't even a citizen?
Yes.
Because they think these possibilities are only available for people that are citizens.
That's right.
And so if I don't tell people how to do it, people are just stuck in jobs that they hate with great talent and business ideas that could be multi-million-dollar talents. I mean, if I could even be a little part of someone's journey, I would love that opportunity to be a part of someone's journey, telling them how to navigate things, alternatives. I always believe there's a solution to everything. You just have to think about it. So sometimes I'll be talking to some of my clients and I'll be like, just give me a day. I'll come up with something. And people always call me the problem solver. I will always figure something out. There is always a solution. You just have to take a step back and look at things differently. And I get very invested, even with my clients. Sometimes I'll be like, so how are we doing with numbers? How were the sales? Things, just telling them things that they can do, even marketing strategies. Like, I had to learn how to do my own ads because you don't have a budget for an agency when you start. So and just that learning, the learning and the ability to learn how to run ads by myself has now allowed me to be able to understand the metrics, read the analytics, and be able to say, okay, well, these are the people clicking on my site, these are the people purchasing, then build lookalike audiences around those people and target them. So these are skills that you only learn on the job, and you learn through process, and you learn what's available to you. I'm working now out of a library. A lot of people do not even realize that the library has a kitchen that you can rent separately from the hall that is utilized for occasions. So libraries typically have halls that you can rent for occasions, birthday parties and things. But as a caterer, you can rent out the kitchen separately. People don't even know that it's available. So lack of awareness, lack of information is keeping people stuck where they are. And so I'm very passionate about communicating these things to them and letting them have the ability, because when you have information, you can then make an informed decision. Yeah.
Wow. So gosh, there's just so much to unpack here.
Yes.
There's just so many themes around resilience, being willing to give it a go, taking chances, making the most of whatever skills or interests that you have.
Or people.
Relationships, We even talked about leveraging AI as a partner, as an employee, as a resource. Thinking outside of the box, right? Like you mentioned, right? You've been able to get this going, working out of a library kitchen. What's your overarching message to the students watching this around lean business startup? Like for a lot of us, right? You know, there's hesitation. You know, what's your main message that you want them to take away?
Okay. My key message is that everything that you need to start up is in your hands right now. Everything that you need, you've got it in your hands right now. Don't think you need anything else. You need the right connections, but the key and the core aspects, you have it within you, and you can start in the smallest way possible. And there, we can even start even smaller than, you know, how I started. You can do, for instance, I talked about, you know, going from bulk to single orders, getting the trust, and then going back to bulk, and then catering, and then canapes. You know, proof of concept can be small, but it could also be even smaller. So for instance, at festivals, you see people doing taste testing. You can just organize a little get together with friends and family, do like a little survey, anonymize it, because you're looking for data, you're not looking for
necessarily huge revenues.
No, no. So you can start in the smallest way possible, but just move away from the limiting mindset of, I don't think I've got what it takes. You have got what it takes, and whatever you have now, use that and then build. If you like, for instance, I know this is very interesting. I was a makeup artist at some point. Right. I did makeup artistry. I did hair and beauty salon and services and things like that. So I have done a few businesses for me to then land here. One of the things I did was with makeup, I wanted to do high-end brands like MAC and things like that. And so they're very expensive. One little item is like $50, $100. But what happens is when I get paid, a percentage goes back into building my kit. So you don't have to have a full kit. You just have to have what you need. And as the revenue comes, you reinvest in yourself and you build and you grow. So everything you need to start is within your hands right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, and keep in mind, everyone, just to tie everything together, remember that we started off this story, and it is a great story, one that is actually continuing. You will be hearing more from Dr. Joe. But remember that I'm referring to her as Dr. Joe. We started off this story with someone who, her grades only qualify her for a conditional offer to uni, right? And within this journey, she's achieved multiple businesses that she's running under this lean framework that we talk about. She is now Dr. Josephine, and she's right now actually a mentor to myself and to you guys. So it is possible, and we believe that the lean business startup is a major vehicle towards what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
It's our plan and our hope that you will actually get to meet Dr. Josephine sometime in the near future. And we just thank you for your attention, and we look forward to your engagement in this journey with us. Cheers.
Thank you for having me.